Hello everyone, and welcome to the A10-CII Quick Start Guide on how to employ rockets in CCIP mode. So I've got the normal training mission open, link to that is going to be in the description, and I'm going to be spawning here with the one rocket HE, and as soon as I get in, I will be pausing. So I've got active pause on now, so I can take my time. So up ahead of me, we've got some targets there. On this particular mission, the targets are marked with a waypoint. So if I've got the HUD selected as soy, I can push the data management switch up command to select waypoint 1. For setting our own waypoints, we'll look at that in a different tutorial. But for now, that's just a marker to help us find these guys. So first thing, to set up our weapons, I want to go down here to the Digital Stores Management System, DSMS page, which lets us program in our weapons. Normally you would do this on the ground before takeoff. Since we're starting in flight, we'll do this just before our attack run. So you can see here we're armed with 4x21 M151 rockets. You can see them armed there. To edit the settings, we go to the profile page by clicking OSB1 at the top here. We then can scroll down, pushing this arrow to the M151 rockets, and then we go View Pro on the top to view the weapon profile. We don't have too many settings for rockets. We've got the choice of CCIP and CCRP mode. Really, I would only ever employ rockets in CCIP mode. So that's very much like the Pipper that we saw with the guns. We do have a choice of employing the rockets as single or pairs, or ripple version of singles and pairs. So if this is set to SGL or single, each depression of the weapon release button will fire one rocket. In pairs, it will fire 2 rockets on matching stations. Ripple single, each depress of the weapon release button is going to release a set quantity. So just for demonstration, let's say that I wanted to do ripple pairs. So this is going to fire a pair of rockets, and each depress is going to fire the ripple quantity. Right now this is set to ripple quantity of 1, so that would be identical to the simple pairs system. Let's say I want to fire 4 pairs of rockets with each depress. I would push 4 on the UFC. I can do that up here, or I can enter it down here, and then I click the OSB next to ripple quantity. There we go, I've got this set up to a ripple quantity of 4. There are more advanced settings if we go to chain settings here. These two on the left are for setting an offset, either setting an offset to the right by a certain number of mils or up by a certain number of mils. Negative numbers will move it down or left respectively. We're not going to worry about that. And there's also a minimum altitude here. This is if you want a warning to appear on the HUD if you get below a minimum launch altitude. I'll just be leaving that as is. Once we've made all our changes, we click the flashing save button at the top, and then we can go back to the status page. To select rockets for employment, first we're going to need to arm our rockets, and so we need to move master arm into the up position, and then selecting the rockets. There's 2 ways of doing that. One is using HOTAS. If the HUD is set to soy, as we can see with the asterisks on the HUD, if I'm in any mode except guns mode, and I can cycle between these by pushing the master mode button, I can then push data management switch to the left or right to cycle my active profiles. Right now I've either got those as the rockets or all off. Equally, I could come down here to the DSMS page to select individual stations. I can select as many matching stations as I like. Either way, here I will have all of my rockets selected for this pass. Now on the HUD, we've got the symbology that is very similar to any of you who have seen the GAU8 tutorial. We've got our ranging reticule. Below that we've got our KT to remind us this is the rockets site, not the guns site. and below that we've got the slant range in nautical miles. As we get close, the ranging tape will start to unwind, and the analog tape will slowly go down, and that shows us the slant range in thousands of feet. So top position is 12,000 feet, left position is 9,000, then 6,000 and 3,000. The center dot is the CCIP Pipper. That is the estimated position that the rockets will fall. One thing to note is the rockets are highly inaccurate, and so you're not likely to hit exactly there. So I would either suggest setting a ripple quantity or just manually firing several rockets off per pass to guarantee that you hit at least something. But with all that said, let's run through an attack pass, and I'll talk you through what I'm doing. So I've identified my targets. We've got this line of moving trucks. I'm keeping an eye on them and getting closer to the target. Then when I approach the target, I want to start a dive. Really want a minimum dive angle of about 10 degrees. You can go anywhere up to about 45 degrees. Then when we reach about 6,000 feet, we can start firing our rockets. If we hold down the fire key, it will fire away a ripple. Now, this is the one spawn on this map that does seem to be slightly bugged in that the targets do return fire. So on this one, we have to do as I did there, take some evasive action. I didn't quite get away with it. Ideally, you only want to be using rockets against soft, unarmed targets. Now you can see as I came away there, the CCIP disappeared. That's because I've got no solution. As I turn back on the targets, it should reappear. Got some targets down here, so I'll go in for a diving attack on them. And again, if I press and hold, I will fire a full ripple.
Pull up, pull up.
If I tap, I will fire individual pairs.
Altitude, altitude.
Taking some hits there again, but it worked quite well. One more thing to note is that if I do have my gun set to arm, then I get an additional symbol on my HUD. As I go in, I will also have a small cross that indicates the gun's CCIP solution. This is the simplified reticule to not completely clutter the HUD and make it clear what is rockets and what is ground, what is gun. But this is really quite useful at facilitating a quick guns follow-up to a normal pass.
Mexico 1-1, passing waypoint 2 at 15,000.
So as I go in on these targets, waiting for the Pipper to wind down. Approaching 6,000 feet, I can begin releasing my rockets, and then follow up with a guns pass by placing the guns Pipper over the target.
Altitude, altitude.
Can be very useful for putting a lot of damage on one small area. Anyway, as for rockets release, that is all you really need to know. You can always check on the number of rockets you've got remaining if you've got the DSMS page. See it with the numbers there. Boxes become white once that particular station is empty. And if you drain all the stations, you will get an empty warning appearing on the HUD. Otherwise, if you have any questions, please do leave them down below. And until next time, take care of yourself and be kind to others. Cheers.